Welcome back to another edition of Talking Ball. Today, we are looking at the Louisville basketball team, and we're going to do some predictions for this upcoming season, as well as a projected rotation. And I'm sure you guys are going to have some things you agree with me on and some things you disagree with me on. Either way, let me know in the comments below. Please like this video. Let's jump right into it. So, we're going to start off here with the schedule, and we only have the non-conference games in terms of like the actual dates set, but I'll go through the conference opponents who Louisville is going to play in just a minute in terms of who they'll be playing where and when. And not when, sorry, but where, home or away. So we have that information. We can give a projected win total for the season. So, first handful of games here. That's why I'm scrolling through them. Kansas, Bucknell. Nice scrimmage with Kansas. You get to see two of the best point guards in the country with Darren Peterson and Mikel Brown. They start off with a couple of easier opponents, as they should. South Carolina State and Jackson State. And then you get the big one, the Battle of Kentucky, Louisville versus Kentucky. This time in Louisville, really early on in the season. I kind of wish it was a little bit later, but I understand why it's happening, when it's happening. Just easier for scheduling purposes. But I'm going with Louisville. Last year, Kentucky won this game. I think Louisville's going to be better positioned early on this season. And I like their roster synergy more than Kentucky. So I'm going with Louisville in one of the first big games of the season. Then they've got Ohio, Cincinnati, who just dismissed Jizzle James. So, things aren't necessarily the best spot for Cincinnati. It is a road game at Cincinnati, but I do think Louisville will win that game. They've got Eastern Michigan and NJIT come to Louisville. And then I think, look, we've got to predict some wins and some losses. This is one of the games where I think it's going to be a tough one for Louisville to win. Albeit, I like Louisville's roster maybe a bit more than Arkansas just because of I think there's going to be more cohesion with Louisville. But Arkansas is going to be a very good team. I think it's going to be tough to win on the road at Arkansas. So this is my first loss for Louisville. Then we've got Indiana, which is going to be a very different team with Coach DeVries coming in there. But I think Louisville gets it done away at Indiana. They've got Memphis coming in at home. I think they get that one done. I'm not super high on where Memphis is coming into next season. They've got Tennessee on the road. I think, again, a tough one for Louisville to get that one. Although last year they did play each other. Tennessee won that one easily. I think Louisville's better. Tennessee is worse. But this year the game's at Tennessee. We're going to go with Tennessee in that one. Montana should be a home win. And then, in the middle of ACC play, I like that they're doing this. I don't think this is a home game for Baylor, but I could be wrong, just in Texas. But I think this is a game Louisville wins. With that being said, though, I think they would be catching Baylor at a time where I think that team could be playing better because it's a completely new roster for Baylor next year. But with all of this being said, I have Louisville going 11-2 in conference play, winning 5 of their 7 big major conference matchups. And then in conference play, they've got home and homes with SMU and Duke. I think they go 3-1 in those 4 games. I think they split the games with Duke and beat SMU both times. Although I think that SMU team's going to be good in a fringe fringe tournament team. Then Louisville will go on. They'll be at home and they'll play NC State. Well, not necessarily go on, but at home, their home games will be NC State, Georgia Tech, Virginia, Virginia Tech, Notre Dame, Boston College, and Syracuse. And look, I think Georgia Tech could be a problem with their front court, but I'm not sure that team's backcourt is going to be good enough. I think Notre Dame will be better. I think Syracuse will be better. But the only team here that I think has a good chance, maybe not a good chance, but a reasonable one, I think all these teams are going to be underdogs, to be clear. But I think the team will have the best odds to win is Virginia. I think that's going to be a much better team this year under Coach Odom. And so I have Louisville going 6-1 in their 7 home games. And then their road games will be California, Stanford, Pittsburgh, Miami, Clemson, Wake Forest, in North Carolina. And I have them going 5-2 in these 7 games. So I think they're going to lose the matchup at North Carolina. I think North Carolina's going to be much better next year. And then I just think it's conference basketball. You're going to lose probably one game on the road that you probably would have otherwise not. And I think one of those other 6 games, they'll lose one of those. And so I have them going 14-4 in conference play for a 25-6 record. I think the ACC is going to be better. Maybe not a lot better, but I think better, just steadily better than last year. I think more teams will make the tournament, and therefore a 25-6 record I think will give Louisville probably somewhere in the 2 to 4 seed range for the NCAA tournament. I think they were criminally underseeded this past season, and I think they'll make up for that next year. So now, let's look at the roster and this projected rotation for Louisville going into next season. Now, this is where, if I didn't lose anybody before, I think there's going to be some people who definitely disagree with me. If you're still here, please subscribe to the channel. It really means a lot to me. So, we're going to fill out this rotation. I've already got my starting 5-man in, Sananda Fru. Listen, guys, this was the young player of the year in the Bundesliga, and he beat out Johan Grunloh, who's the young player of the year a year ago, and he's going to be the big man for Virginia next season. And then Hannes Steinbeck, who played really well in the U19 World Cup for Germany, he's going to be at Washington. But neither of those guys was the young player of the year. That was Fru. And I'm not super familiar with his game, but there's a lot of positives with his track record, with his stats in the Bundesliga, and him getting that award, which say to me, he's going to be a starting center. I have him penciled in for 21 minutes. Centers typically don't play a ton. I think that number could go up, but I also think this team has good depth, and so they may not necessarily want to extend guys next year. So, next up, I think this is one, though, that I think everyone will agree with me on. Oh, wait a second. I've got these guys in the wrong places here. So, Mikel Brown Jr. And Mikel Brown Jr., I have positioned to play the most minutes on this Louisville basketball team. Louisville basketball team. I have him at 34 minutes. I just think Mikel Brown Jr., he's just really, really good, guys. And I'm really excited for what it's going to look like in a Louisville offense with spacing, with pace, with his ability to shoot the ball and make plays for teammates. I just think this could be a really special season for Mikel Brown Jr., who I do think, while the hype may not be quite the same, certainly, I think he's going to be in that conversation for ACC Freshman of the Year with Cameron Boozer and Caleb Wilson. He may not be the favorite right now, but I think that's going to become a 3-horse race, depending on how good Cameron Boozer is. But I think Mikel Brown, and Caleb Wilson, in fairness, not far behind. All right, next up, we're going to move down the list here. I've got Isaac McNeely as the starting 2 guard. Now, little caveat here. I think McNeely is going to play around 30 minutes. I think he seamlessly goes into that Rain Smith role. I think he can give you a little bit more in terms of his ability to put the ball on the floor. He's a little bit bigger than Rain Smith, so a little bit better defender, but really similar player in terms of the 3-point marksmanship, the efficiency from outside the line, the ability to shoot in motion. And so, with all of that being said, at 29 minutes I have bookmarked for McNeely. There is a chance, and we'll get to these guys in a little bit, that ends up being off the bench. But I think he's going to play basically starters minutes. It's just a question of, is he actually a starter or not? I'm leaning towards him being a starter. But Rain Smith didn't start, until injuries for Louisville last season. Now, the other guard spot, I've got Ryan Conwell. This is just a veteran scoring guard. I just think Ryan Conwell. He did it. He was really good at Indiana State. He was really good again at Xavier. There's just not much doubt in my mind with these four players. We'll get to the fifth guy in a second, that are just going to be getting quality minutes and heavy minutes, certainly in the case of Mikel Brown Jr., starter minutes for McNeely and Conwell, and I think Frew is going to be a starter, and that number, I think, is more likely to go up than certainly down. Now, the last starter for this team is one that I think some of you may not agree with, and that's perfectly fine. I'm going with Javon Hadley. I just think Javon Hadley is a super steady player. He's an undersized forward. He's not a great outside shooter, although he's efficient. He just doesn't shoot a high volume, but he's a really good rebounder, a good positional defender. You know what you're going to get from him, and I think as a coach, there's a lot of value in that for Coach Kelsey, and so therefore I think Javon Hadley is the starting forward, power forward for this Louisville team. So that leaves the bench. How are we rounding out the bench? I'm going 9 deep. So we've got 4 more guys who I'm projecting to get minutes next year. In the 6th man, I've got Cason Pryor. And I know a bunch of you guys are going to be sitting there saying, I've got Cason Pryor starting over Hadley. And listen, we got to wait and see how it's going to shake out. But I think Hadley is going to get the opportunity, the first crack in the starting lineup over Pryor. Now, there is also a possibility that they go maybe not super small, because Pryor's a big guy, but they go a little bit smaller and have Pryor start at the 5. That's another option. There's a lot of optionality, versatility in these lineups for Coach Kelsey, which is just one of the reasons why I projected them to win as many games as I did at 25-6. Pryor, coming back from injury, will be in his 6th season of college basketball. I still have him projected to play 20 minutes, so it's not like he's going to be a bit player off the bench, but I just think you can play him at the 5, you can play him at the 4, you can play him with another big, you can play him by himself. I just think coming off the bench, he brings in versatility for this team at Louisville. So, the 7th guy, I have Adrian Woolley. Put up really good numbers at Kennesaw State. I got him penciled in right now for 18 minutes. I think if the first 3 players, the guards, Mikel Brown, McNeely, and Conwell, if maybe just 2 of them were here, Woolley would be getting more minutes, but with all 3 of them, it's just hard for me. There's only 200 minutes to work with in college basketball. It's just hard for me to find more minutes for Adrian Woolley. And the same can be said for the next guy on this list, or in this rotation, I should say, with Connie Roots, who I thought got better as the year went on. And to me, while I think Woolley could have an argument to start, I think Roots is the guy who, if McNeely ends up coming off the bench, I think it's Roots who's getting, maybe it's Pryor, in fairness, but I think Roots could end up being the guy who starts, maybe gets a little bit more than 12 minutes. I think that number is low for him, but it's just, again, this team is so deep, it's hard for me to justify, playing him more and taking minutes from guys who I just am more confident in McNeely and Conwell and Mikel Brown. And so therefore, the last guy for me who I project to be in this rotation next season is Ali Khalifa, who missed all of last year due to injury. I have him penciled in for 10 minutes, which gives you, just over 31 minutes of traditional, big man with Frew and Khalifa, and then you play just under, 10 minutes a game with Pryor at the 5 spot. Maybe that number is too much. Maybe they go with Khalifa a little bit more. Maybe he's more in the 12 to 15 minute range. And Pryor either plays a little bit less, maybe Hadley plays a little bit less, or they take some minutes from the guards. But overall, it's a really deep team, a lot of options for Coach Kelsey, and I just think they're really well positioned heading into next season. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Until next time, peace. We're only a couple months away, guys. It's very exciting. We're almost there.